Okay, and we're live apparently. Um, in Ludity.
Here.
Okay, okay. Uh, oh, hello, A Fisher. um, so both in Ludity and in Oji were supposed to participate in this episode, but I don't know. Maybe he had a last minute responsibility or something, so he will be hopefully getting here during the course of the episode. But for now, I think we should already start discussing the main theme. Is that okay for you?
Ready when you are.
Okay, perfect. So, essentially, to because I already said this, I already discussed this with both of them, but to give you guys more of a detailed idea of what this means, right? Uh, I've noticed a lot the presence of both types of discourse in regards to modern female characters nowadays. There are many like videos and video essays I've heard saying that all modern female characters are over sexualized or like they're objectified, etc. And many other videos saying the complete opposites, that no, they are being uglified, they are being desexualized nowadays. And like, how can both of these opinions, how can both of these views exist, right? How can both of these contradicting things be true at the same time? And I figured
Right.
out that essentially the people who are making the over sexualized complaint are mostly talking about gacha games and sometimes even Japanese games in general. Well, the people who say that they are too ugly are mostly talking about AAA like stuff like RPGs and shooters, etc. And so there's this problem right now where essentially like fan service in general is kind of concentrated on a singular region and on kind of very specific genres. And that's not good for either part. Because imagine if you are a fan of Western RPGs, right? You're not a fan of any of this anime bullshit, right? And but you want to like have a RPG with pretty woman with like bikini armor and stuff like that. Well, you can't. And imagine the flip side. Imagine you're a like gay person, gay man, and you want to play gacha games. You are into anime tropes. You like the gameplay of things like Genshin Impact or Nikkei or stuff like that. But obviously, you don't want like a bunch of female ass on your face all the time, right? So it's not a
Right.
good. Cool. So it's not a good situation for anyone, I think. Is there something you like to add?
I was thinking when you were just like giving us the rundown before. I know I lie in the camp of like if it fits the theme of whatever media it's in, is that should be priority. So like I've seen it with like Fallout mods or like Skyrim or whatever.
Mhm.
If they're meant to be in an area that's like all dirty and whatnot, and then they look like supermodel like runway models, like it doesn't make sense. But if it's going to take away from the game, then yeah, it shouldn't be done that way. That's just kind of what I was going to add maybe.
Mm. No, I understand that view, but I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. Like, not in the sense that I believe that what you're saying is necessarily wrong, but what happens nowadays is that kinda you don't have a freedom to express yourself. You don't have a freedom to make what you want to make. Because like, let's say I go to the Western games industry and I want to make, like you said, Fallout, a more realistic thing with more grime and muck and etc. I can do that. But let's say I go there and I want to make something like, what would be a good example? Oh, perfect. Classic God of War with like Kratos being this very hyper masculine guy with the sex mini games and like all the sexy like female bosses and stuff like that. A lot of what you could have, a lot of what you could make in the original God of War, you wouldn't be able to make right now. And that's more or less the issue, because I'm not saying that people shouldn't have the right to create ugly games or ugly female characters or any of that. What I'm arguing with is actually more creative freedoms, people being able to make more things. But for now, it feels like people can't. Like you, it's very rare for you to see, like I said, games in the gacha game sphere that don't have fan service, for example. And it's very rare for you to see games in the Western sphere of RPGs and shooters that do. Like you are saying, no, but in the setting, like it makes sense. And yeah, but imagine if I wanted to make a setting where it made sense to for these things to be there. I couldn't because of these restrictions, on either one. And I think that's a problem from both a creator and a creative freedom standpoint, and well, the audiences, like I said, because you kind of isolate people by their interests into certain genres, which I don't feel like it's a good thing.
I would say, like, I don't know if we're saying that they necessarily can't do these things. It's just they're beholden to shareholders' views or like management or anything in these big studios. If you go to the indie market or like any indie small team developer, like you will see what you want, like the creative freedom that you talk about. It's just if those small time projects come to fruition or not. But I guess I've seen the bigger idea that you're trying to get across in mostly AAA studios on both sides of the aisle, really.
Mhm. On one hand, I can kind of understand like what you're saying, right? Because obviously, like, how do I say this? Obviously, there are certain cliches, certain tropes, certain ideas that are more popular depending on a particular culture or on a particular time period or like on a particular genre. Like that's stuff is going to vary, I understand. And obviously AAA studios want safety, they want what's tried and true, right? Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to say something there.
Oh no, I
But
was agreeing. Sorry.
okay. But the point that I'm trying to get across is that like there really should be games for the other side, because you say, oh, but the people, for example, that like Western games may not like those tropes, or the people that like Eastern games may not like those other tropes that are more present in Western games that we're talking about. But things aren't that isolated, things aren't that deterministic. Like again, there are lots of gay men, there are a lot of women, there are a lot of just people who don't like fan service that like gacha games. They like the structure, they like the stories, they like some of the cliches there. And it's a real shame that they are kind of isolated to things like Limbus Company, Reverse 1999, or what's the other name of that one? Cookie Run Kingdom, or arguably, very arguably, Arknights. Like again, I can count those on the fingers of one hand. And like if I were to list all the gacha games that have fan service, it would be a whole entire list. And we know that a woman can, like, they are a big part of the gacha game sphere, especially because something like what's the name of that? Love and Deep Space, for example, is one of, if not the most lucrative gacha game right now, and it's literally just a reverse harem game. You play as a woman and you romance a bunch of hot guys, so the market is there, you know. So no, you can continue.
Mm, I would say maybe it's a simplistic explanation of like sex sells. So these gotcha games. I mean, I've played a couple, so I'm familiar kind of with how they play. A lot of it is kind of like buy the currency to buy pay to win, really.
Mm,
So if you need to have draw into the game to keep you there, and sexy anime women for sure draws in a lot of people. I would say probably the mass like user base of that product.
mm. I see. So what you're saying is that, like, it makes sense for gacha games to do this because of kind of their nature, their structure, what they need to do, correct?
Yeah, it's like if you go to a casino, like the slots, like the slot machines are going to be like a lot of bells and whistles going off, a lot of flashing lights to grab your attention and keep you there, a lot of like happy sounds and all that sort of thing. So you keep spending the money, you keep playing. It's the same with gacha, in my opinion.
I see. So what you're saying is that, if I'm understanding this correctly, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but if I'm understanding correctly, what you're saying is that um like, you understand that there are some people, maybe even a large group of people, that are unsatisfied, but that is just a fact of life. That if you, for example, in your example, you go to a casino, obviously you're going to find slot machines there. You just kind of need to understand that that's going to happen. And if you go on that same vein, if you go into a more Western RPG these days, you need to know what you're getting into. Obviously, you're not going to see some big-breasted lady in a bikini armor there, because what they're trying to do, what the people they're catering to, like their objective with their media, is different. And so, in your view, like this kind of separation, despite maybe these loud minorities that are unsatisfied on both sides, makes sense to you. Is that it, or did I miss something?
No, more or less, yeah, you're right. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. Because I would add also, it's like if you try to make something for everyone, the quality of that thing goes way down, in my opinion. I would point to an example of like, well, people say this with like Morrowind to Oblivion. I saw it with Oblivion to Skyrim, whereas like the more broad and general and dumbed down everything got, like, yes, the more it became accessible to people, it also, to me, it degraded the overall like quality of the project.
Mm, I see. So uh, I kind of get what you're saying, and I do agree. But like, what I'm more or less kind of trying to get at is not that, no, something should like try to appeal to everyone. What I'm trying to say more or less is that, like, the media as a whole should appeal to everyone. Like, it would be uh what else, it would be, at least in my view, the perfect world if we could have gacha games for every kind of person, not just for like a horny young man, but for like horny young woman, or like for someone who's just looking for a more modest casual experience, for someone who wants something more serious or something more goofy. it'd be nice if in gacha games we could have various different types of games to appeal to various different types of people. If there were in within that industry games to appeal to everyone. Not every game needs to appeal to every demographic. That's very bad, honestly. But I do think there should be games in there that should appeal to everyone, like ideally. And I believe the same thing to be true with the Western industry. It's more or less where I'm trying to get at, you know?
Yeah, I guess I can agree with basically what you're saying there.
Mhm. And we don't have this situation right now. And though I do like your point because to an extent, yeah, let's be real. If you go into a gacha game, there's a lot more incentive there to have these kind of sexy waifus, and it's a kind of established thing of the genre. It's like kind of like those normies, right, that go into anime and are like, oh, why is there so much fan service? It's disgusting. Like, it's a thing of the genre. Like, it's an established sort of trope that you need to accept to go here. And the same thing with, for example, sitcoms. I really hate the trope of the stupid dad in sitcoms, right? But it's just an established thing of the genre, and a lot of people like it. And so I can't kind of go in there and expect not to see it. Like that be unreasonable of me, and that's unreasonable of the people who go into anime and keep complaining about panty shots all the time. Correct?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mm. Okay. Honestly, this was very enlightening because again, that's why I have guests, is because I like to discuss those things. There are some things where I kind of just want to tell people my opinion, right? That's, for example, when I make videos, like the one I did about if hentai games involving female protagonists wouldn't be like could be good without the like non-con stuff, you know?
Right.
That was more of me just trying to tell my opinion to people. But uh, in this podcast, I like to discuss things, to really not just say my opinion, but hear other thoughts and add to my experience, to kind of my view. And I really like that we were able to do that with this topic here. It's more or less what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay, now let's read some comments again before we get to the next subject. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. I would say that they don't even want any hint of sexy on female characters in like Western games. And yeah, one of the problems that I think I forgot to talk about is that a lot of because they have a lot of those things that idea of something getting what would be the name a product of its time, right? And so when they remaster a game, for example, that had things like bikini armor or this kind of like you said, this cliche of a girl that's super fit and super like curvy in a time where most people were starving, right? They
Hmm.
take that, and when they remaster the game, when they kind of update the graphics and etc., they remove that, even though it's an element that a lot of people who were fans of that particular game liked. And that's one of the problems in kind of this context that A Fish is talking about, is that because of this standard that's being applied. Like I said, you kind of can't have certain tropes in certain types of games, and to an extent that makes sense, but to another it kind of sucks for the subject of creative freedom. But like you said, again, we have things like indies, for example, where you can find all sorts of stuff on both sides. So I do get why maybe you don't think this is that much of a problem, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many more indie development projects come through. in recent years. It's like people are. I don't know if it's like a reflection of these major companies doing this sort of thing, desexualizing things or making everything like the same. But people do want their niche interest or niche game type, like genre, like recognized or expanded upon. So they're probably just doing it themselves.
Hmm. It's not just the desexualization thing. There are a lot more elements to this, but yeah, there's certainly been a boom of the popularity of indie games, and I do think that uh, all of this that you said, as well as the desexualization stuff, is one of those reasons. Like indie games are just more interesting in general nowadays, and they can even kind of replicate the quality of AAA studios right now. So a lot of people are moving indie because they don't see any kind of benefit to AAA anymore. So I get what you're saying, and I agree on that sense. Let's continue here. Okay, Fisher says that gacha is close to porn. I think they are talking about love and deep space, and that's something interesting that another subject that we're going to get into. But uh, it's interesting if you go to the sexual media that appeals to women and the sexual media that appeals to men, how and the media in general that appeals to women and men, how many differences you find. A cool fact for you: you know what seinen manga is, correct?
Maybe I'm unfamiliar. I
Okay.
might know of it, but I don't know the term.
Okay, shonen is essentially a manga for teenage boys, right? And seinen is manga for like young adults. So you can imagine the demographic of shonen is 12 to 18, and the demographic of seinen is kind of 18 plus. So what would a seinen look like? Berserk, it's the most famous one. And what would a shonen look like? Naruto, for example. You kind of
Okay.
get? Okay. So, and we also have the same for women. We have shoujo, which are manga more for young girls, and josei, josei, which are manga more for um, adult woman, right? And what's interesting is that if you go into seinen, it's never well, it's I can't say never, but it's mostly not outright porn, right? It's generally a story with more fan service or sometimes even more adult themes. The same thing is not true for josei. Like manga for adult woman is pretty much just porn and nana. It's a nana and porn. So it's just kind of interesting to notice that. uh, I- I'm sorry, I thought you would have something to comment about that.
Oh no, I was gonna say, I guess it makes sense the kind of like topic division there. It's kind of what I've covered in my videos too. It's like
Mhm.
these more adult themed games should have adult themes in them. You know, I'd hate for there to be like, I don't know, porn or whatever in my Minecraft. I mean, they exist. You can't find it, but it shouldn't be there.
Yeah, that's also another thing that I wanted to talk about. I don't have it registered here, but is a thing that I wanted to talk about that's kind of related to this topic, which is like should normies play these types of gooner games, and should gooners go into these more wholesome communities and start doing this shit? You know, that's one of the discussions that I wanted to have and that we can have like right now or after I finish reading the comments if you want to. Are you interested?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, what else? What else? Oh, okay, okay. By the way, I really like the design on the right, and the left is also good. Oh, they're talking about like the designs on the poster that I have here illustrating the string. And yeah, I am also a big fan for two very good reasons.
Yeah, I'm having to refocus into the conversation because the one on the right there keeps distracting me.
Anyway, what else? Oh, okay. Let's just go into like that topic that I wanted to talk about. Like, um, because like I said, I have a very idealistic view of the subject, I think. And so I used to like really argue that no, there should be media for everyone. You make a Gunner game for the Gunners, right? And you make a non-Gunner game for the non-Gunners. Simple, easy. That stuff works, right? But what I notice is that unfortunately appeal is much more complicated than that, because you might wonder, oh, something like Nikkei, that gacha game where there's like all these sexy woman with guns shooting the raptures, this kind of insect-like machines, right? Why would anyone who isn't a gooner who just wants to see booty jiggling play that stuff, right? And that's
Yeah.
because I'm sorry, you can continue.
No, no, no. Go ahead. I was just agreeing.
Okay. And that's because there's a lot more appeal to Nikkei than just a gooning. Obviously, that's a good part of the appeal. No one is going to deny that. But there's a good story there. Like very well developed characters, great art style. The music is amazing as well. So even if you don't like the more fan service aspect, there's a lot to enjoy in Nikkei, essentially. Uh, and so that's why you see a lot of people, even those who don't like, don't care for, or hate fan service, who really not like Nikkei. And the same is true for things like maybe you've seen it. There's this series on YouTube right now called The Amazing Digital Circus, where there's this character that's literally the most desexualized character ever. There's literally nothing like remotely sexy at all, but she became a sex symbol, which is Pomni. And you wonder, dude, that's a noodle. There's literally no curves on this character. Why are you this horny? And it's because, especially on Western entertainment right now, this is one of the few and most prominent cases of legit girl failure. And that's, as you probably imagine, something that became very attractive to people, especially recently. And so that's the kind of sexual appeal that you can see even in a more wholesome character like this, which is why so many gooners are watching what's literally zero fan service series. And so it's just interesting to notice how much more complex uh, appeal is in general, and why something that at first glance doesn't seem like it would appeal to one or other person does, and why there are so many people with very annoying discussions of, oh, I like this so much, but it has those things that I didn't like that I wish it didn't have, etc. I used to wonder, oh, why don't you just go play something else? Like, why are you losing your time on something that clearly has a lot of stuff you don't like? And it's because they like a lot of stuff about it and just wish there would be like less of the content they don't like, essentially.
Yeah, I think you're pretty right about that. It's a case a lot of the times I think of people finding one little thing that they like about something and sticking with it because that's still there. It's like watching a show, like a series that you like for just one character and then dropping it as soon as they die or something.
Mm. Yeah, it's not exactly like that, but it's very close. The concepts are very close. So, yeah, it's essentially finding. Yeah, no, no. What the fuck am I talking about? No, you're completely right. It's essentially finding something you do like on something to fixate on, and to enjoy the work for that, even if like most of the work is clearly not for you in that sense. So yeah, you're completely correct about that. Let me see some comments and then we can move on. Are you suggesting that the thirst for pomni may be rooted in high cultural social norms, turning away from more typical TNA fan service? No, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there is a certain sexual appeal to her personality and that inspires thirst in the absence of TNA. That's more or less what I'm saying. Also, A Fisher has the right idea. Pomni is also a clown girl, and those have been pretty popular in recent years, so that helps. So yeah, that's more or less what I actually mean. You know?
I get you.
Okay. Uh, but yeah, uh, it's just interesting to notice, like I was saying, the kinds of like differences between the appeal of media for men and women, because I think that's why a lot of uh, there are various aspects, but that's why I think a lot of works fail to more or less transition from one audience to the other, because for example in superhero shows, right, let's be real, like Captain Marvel in the comics is clearly like a character, a female character designed to appeal to men, right? She's this kind of bombshell superhero woman in a tight, small leotard, etc. And they didn't want that. They didn't want that for most of the female characters in Marvel movies. They wanted those characters to be able to appeal to women. And outside of Captain Marvel, actually, those attempts have failed because they don't understand what women actually like. They are trying to put, oh, we have a strong woman, so can you go watch this thing that's clearly for boys? And most people and most women were like, no. Because imagine that. Imagine if you took like something like, I'm going to use a really bad example here, but I hope I can kind of pass my message along here. Imagine if you had something like 50 Shades of Grey and you don't change anything, right? You pretty much don't change any of the dialogue, of the descriptions, or anything, but you make the main character a man and the like love interest a woman. Like, would that necessarily appeal to guys? With how many guys, especially, clowned on that movie? I don't think so. Or something like Twilight. If you kept everything about Twilight the same and you just reverse the genders, would the movie suddenly appeal more to men? No. You need to kind of change the writing, change the fan service, change the themes, change the kind of structure for it to appeal to another demographic. It's a lot of work, actually, because different people naturally have different interests, and you can't just do one simple alteration and expect for kind of you to get that change in appeal, at least in my view. You know, like if you compare, for example, very sexual manga for women and very sexual manga for men, obviously like, there are a lot of differences. If you go and watch even something more fan servicey, for more outright fan services like Free or Yuri on Ice, and compare it to even some of the best written like ecchi anime for men, right? That that like water and oil, it's completely different. Even if they are kind of in that vein of, oh, media that's trying to titillate you, right? And so it's just interesting to see that a lot of people are trying to transition media into different audiences without kind of understanding in general, because obviously people are different. Like you can't just put man and woman in a box like that. But in general, what audiences want from their media, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I mostly agree with what you're saying. It's like a Marvel thing. Like if a tool company started making drills in pink, and it was like, "Hey, ladies, would you like this new drill we made? It's pink." It's like it's not really going to sell all that well, or like female sales, I would think. Um, 50 Shades of Grey thing. I was thinking it's like there might not actually be too much division between like male and females like interest that way. If you swap like gender swap the roles there, I think a lot of people are still going to. I don't know. I think it still catch the attention of a lot of guys because of the whole like dommy mommy thing recently too.
Please don't remind me. God damn it. But I kind of get what you're saying. Obviously, there are a lot of similarities, even between like the kinds of things that I was talking about. Uh, like if you go on some of those very well written again, uh, kind of ecchi anime for men, right? And you compare it to something like Free or something like again Yuri on Ice, you see a lot of similarities, you know. But there are definitely enough elements that like kind of differentiate the two and give them a sort of distinct flavor. Obviously, to some extent, you're right in that you can kind of transition sometimes, but generally, I think your example of the pink drill is great because, yes, that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking a superhero movie, like they're keeping pretty much everything the same, but oh, it's a female character, so you ladies are gonna like it, right? No, that's not how this works. Make like a magical girl sort of thing, and maybe we will enjoy it. It's this kind of thing. Um, Now let's see. Evil Bookman says you limit your audience to a smaller, but not small as one might expect. The fandom audience simply swapping the sexes of 50 Shades, and to overthink it flops, as you explained. Plus, it takes work. Uh, I think this person's pretty much agreeing with the kind of balanced take that we arrived at. Of yes, there are enough similarities that something like that can work, but there are enough differences that you can't just do this one-to-one swap and expect it to work. So this person's pretty much just agreeing with us, I think.
I get that too.
Though on the topic of fan service and things like that, one of the things I wanted to make the most is to discuss fan service with people who aren't just going to go on the whole 10-page essay on why like you're oppressing women, right? To just discuss and criticize that with people who have a more neutral or even more positive view. So, what are, and I'm asking this of both in Ludity and of chat. So, what are some of the fan service cliches you dislike? What are some of the things you don't like to see, even if you like those types of fan service anime?
That's a good question. Nothing really like jumps to the forefront of my mind as far as like things I would dislike. Um, because I don't know if some of the things I'm thinking of would count as fan service because they're not in the same realm as like panty shots or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if I had to pick something, it's like maybe uh I that's why I never stuck with like Dragon Ball or anything. It's like fights taking 17 episodes to conclude. It's like it's just too drawn out. The cut the fat on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that would fall in line with what fan service necessarily defines.
No, but actually, it can like take us to interesting topic that I also wanted to talk about in that vein, which is that a lot of people, they can't meet in the middle, right? Because for example, there was that anime called Fire Force, right? And pretty much everyone was in a very extreme camp, right? Either fan service bad and that anime needs to remove all that, or fan service good. How dare you criticize any aspect of this? And I saw a guy that was being kind of roasted because he was criticizing the fan service while saying that he generally likes those types of more ecchi anime. And I thought, and upon watching Fire Force, and especially some of those scenes with Tamaki, I think it's her name. I totally understand. Like that's like you said, that drags on. Like if it was something like, oh, she is fighting and just as she defeats the enemy, she notices that her pants are down, like if something like that. Oh, that makes sense, right? Because she has kind of a curse where she kind of needs to or is attracted to this more fan servicey situations. So that kind of makes sense. But every fight with Tamaki, well, not every fight, but a lot of fights with Tamaki, I think go on this whole thing that you were saying where they really drag on, you know. For example, the fight scene will start and then she'll lose all her clothes, and it won't just end at that. Her pussy will literally go into the guy's face, and the whole thing that was supposed to be a fight scene now turns into a whole fan service scene that can go for minutes on end. And I was like, yeah, this is garbage. I like fan service. I like sexy woman in bikinis. I should like Tamaki, but no, this is garbage. I don't like this. You know,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess if it turns from anime to should just be hentai at some point, yeah, I guess I could see like how that would be a bad thing.
it's not even that, because like fan service in Fire Force is generally pretty good. It's generally just a woman and she's fighting while wearing like a sexy outfit, right? Or she's fighting and then suddenly her boobs get like exposed, but after that the fight continues normally. I can like that, but when, like I said, it just the whole fight scene is just one giant ecchi, like sort of awkward situation, like that's just bad for me. Like when you drag it on and kind of lose the plot essentially, that makes things bad for me. That's my view, you know.
I get you.
I don't know the current context, but as for the title, I feel too attractive, to be honest, too unrealistic. Sexiness is a double edged sword. Yeah, he is probably talking about Brow Dust 2's designs, because, not to me, I love them, but those can certainly be a bit much to some people. Like, for example, one gacha game that's much to me is Horizon Zero. Is something like that. It's essentially a 3D gacha game where they released a costume for one of the female characters recently, and it's nothing. She's literally naked. She has pasties, like three pasties, two on her boobs and one on her crotch, and that's the costume. And I was like, what's the point? Just make a hentai game already. Like I don't enjoy this. This is too much for me. So I can definitely understand what he's talking about.
And it goes back to the whole if it has to make sense for this the setting, right?
Hmm. No, but like I'm talking more about personal preference, because even if, because from what I understand, it makes sense within the context of that game. You know, those outfits make sense because they're generally like event outfits, or like for example, the one I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure it's a strip club outfit, right? From a strip club event. So it makes sense, right? But to me, that's a bit much. Like at that point, I don't find it sexy anymore personally. So we're not talking more about objective quality of filmmaking and something that can be provably shown as good or badly designed or anything. We're talking about preference, and this certainly isn't to my preference. You know, that's more or less what I'm getting at.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Or the we've come a long way from Noriko ripping her top in Gunbuster. Have you seen Gunbuster?
I have not.
Neither have I, so I'll have to Google that reference later. Or the Azure Lane Gacha. Oh yeah. Uh, like I like most of the costumes in Azure Lane because they never go like as far as what I'm talking about of the pasties, etc. But it can definitely be too much to some people, and I do understand. I'm trying to remember the name of an anime wherein that man falls face first into a woman's crotch or a woman's to a man's face, where there was this ongoing gag. It was like Gundam Seed, but original IP. And the gag absolutely did not go along with the rather green and occasionally gory tone the show set up in the first episodes. I think you're talking about, maybe I'm incorrect, but I think you're talking about Swazzer Mike Macken. No, Move Loov. Yeah, I think he's probably talking about Move Loov because the Max and the fan service after very serious like couple of initial episodes that does sound like Move Loov. Yeah. Uh, I saw that actually in Absolute Duo. Like, it's not as egregious there because it just kind of shows you from the beginning that's going to be like some silly ecchi anime. But there was this really interesting gag because generally it's just the guy falling into like a girl's boobs, right? But what's great about this scene is that like what happens first is that the girl actually she loses her balance and she falls face first into like the guy's crotch, and so she like lifts herself up and she's so embarrassed she tries to run away, but things get even worse and now his face is on her crotch, and everyone just keeps looking at them with this like awkward like empty expression like what in the fuck has this class turned into. uh, that scene was really funny. Cross Ange. Oh yeah, Cross Ange. Oh my god, that stuff. Oh my fucking god, it's even worse than I thought. Have you seen Cross Ange?
That's another one. Yeah, I haven't seen it. There's so many anime, man.
Yeah, there is. But to give you an idea, Cross Ange is this like a really, like he's saying, is something very. I think you mentioned it. That doesn't make sense. They introduced this very green, like he said, and gory tone to the show, and then suddenly it just turns into like silly hair and stuff. Like, imagine if, uh, for example, what's a good ecchi anime you've seen? It doesn't need to be recent.
I was thinking maybe like Pate might fit the bill. I was
Pot
thinking about that for another point.
Pote?
Uh, Probably not pronouncing it correctly. Apate. It's like
Upote.
Upotte.
Oh, okay. The one with the guns. The girls with the guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now. Imagine if, like, in the middle of Attack on Titan, it just suddenly turned into Upote, and you kind of understand what cross change is.
Okay.
So, yeah, absolutely. I can totally agree with what he's saying. But you said you wanted to bring something up. What exactly? What do you have in mind?
Like I said, I was thinking about the show I'd mentioned for another point, but I've forgotten I was going to tie that in. So, oh well.
People forget stuff. It's normal. Sucks, but sometimes it just happens. Okay. So oh, the evil bookman like mentioned something funny here. Did you know that Upote is just gun backwards, like in Japanese, because they have teppo, gun, and upote. It's just you see what they did there.
Yeah, one could call that clever.
I certainly wouldn't. Actually, fucking whatever. I my reputation, if we can even call it that, is in the fucking dumps anyway. So can I tell you a story of my childhood? A couple of them, and then maybe you can identify and tell some of your own stories, etc. Can we do that?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so I had this friend that had this like uh, kind of original series that he wanted to make, making fun of anime tropes, right? And I don't know why, because he was always super excited and coming up to me with like various ideas that he liked and drawings that he had made. And I don't know why. Maybe he was a masochist because I would roast the shit out of him every time. Like one time he came to me with this idea of, oh, we're gonna have a best friend character, and his name is going to be Tomodachi. You see what I did there? Tomodachi, clever, right?
Mm.
And I said to his face, like, no, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. What the fuck is this retarded shit you're putting in your script? Like I had zero reason to be that mean. Like dude was just excited about some small project he was making with his friends, and I just mercilessly roasted him. There was another time where like he was saying, oh, we're going to have this very like bitch type character that's always going to be throwing her clothes away, but when she finally participates in a fight scene, she's going to be wearing this very realistic and very powerful, like kind of power armor, and they're going to like tell her, oh, but weren't you like a more sexual kind of person? We thought we you were going to wear bikini armor, and she would look at them and be like, no, obviously like I like doing that stuff, but I'm not going to do it on the battlefield. And he was like, "My
Mm.
God, that's so clever, right? Obscure anime, this really like makes fun of those tropes, right?" And I look at his face. Oh yeah, and it already has been done 100 times in 100 other works I've seen years before this was even an idea in your head. Like you're not as clever as you think you are, dude. Like it's so unnecessary, man. Why did I say that? A poor dude was just excited about something he was making with his friend. Why did I say that? I regret it to this day, honestly.
Uh, I feel that it's just fun to roast somebody's passions, I guess, sometimes. When you were giving those examples, it made me think of,
Hmm.
I think, yeah, it was when I was in high school. Um, since I was a shitty student, I had to go to summer school for a summer. And it was in that summer school class, there was a classmate of mine's sister, and we all had a writing assignment assigned to us where we read them out loud too. Uh, his sister didn't very understandably afterwards self-conscious about her writing, so the teacher started reading it, and it turned out it was basically just kind of like horny fanfic about Legolas from Lord of the Rings. And it was so funny to see the teacher's like face kind of drop as she was reading on and on until she was like, "That's fine. I'm not going to read anymore." We did end up roasting the shit out of her afterwards.
Oh my God, poor girl, man. But why the fuck did she write smut fan fiction of Lord of the Rings of all things for her assignment, man? Like, I think you deserve to be
Ah,
roasted at this point. Oh, who the fuck has this sort of stupid ass idea?
I don't know. It's probably why she was in summer school. Make a decision like that.
Anyway, oh, but you reminded me of something actually very interesting. Um, like for obvious reasons, I was kind of known for like as being the hentai guy in my class, right? And so people would make fun of me, like, "Oh, which one have you uh been watching these days, or oh, can you recommend me one? Like they were ironic about it. They were just making fun of the fact that I liked hentai, and so I decided to like uh, troll them a bit and said, "Oh, there's this really good one I'm watching right now. It's called Futabu. You should search it." And she could search it, like the people could search it because it was computer class, right? So everyone started searching, but obviously it's school computers, they have safe search on, and so they just saw a bunch of images of like anime girls in one pieces with like that holy light covering the girls packages, right? And they just turned to me and said, "Oh, what's the problem? Like you said, this was really fucked up. Like, what's the issue with this?" And that's when I dropped the bomb on them. You see all those girls? They all have dicks. And I remember the whole class turned to me and was like, "What?" Like even the teacher, he looked at me and like, "Hey, wait, what the hell are you talking about there? There's a class still," because he was kind of distracted, like playing on his phone, just letting us work. But that caught his attention so much that he like dropped his phone on his table and was like, "Oh, what the fuck are you talking about in my class?"
Yeah, we used to do the same thing with like Bible Black.
Ah, but Futabu was like fresher on my mind. Don't ask why, but that's why I said Futabu.
Yeah.
Though it wasn't always just me like trolling, like having making my friends have embarrassing moments, right? I had my fair share. For example, in computer class too. Why so many of this happen in computer class now that I think about it? Anyway, in computer class, we were allowed to uh, while we did assignments, right? We were allowed to use the internet and specifically to listen to music while we programmed, while we did assignments for the teacher, stuff like that, right? So, but at the time, the only real songs I liked were anime openings. So when it was my turn to do like an assignment, I was kind of like, oh, what opening can I put here that won't be awkward? What like a non-fan service anime uh, can I put here so that if I need to pause it, it won't be like a panty shot or something like that, right? I was desperately thinking that, and then I figured, oh, Madoka Magica. Madoka Magica is a very like gory show, obviously, but there is no fan service, right? So it should be fine. I will play the opening of Madoka Magica here, and I'll do my assignment. And if you've seen the opening of Madoka Magica, you could probably see where this is going. Essentially, at some point, I needed to pause the song because someone said, "Oh no, I need to talk to you." And so I switched from like the programming, uh, that screen where you essentially the compiler exactly. I switched from the compiler screen to the uh, YouTube YouTube where I was watching the opening, and like the moment I switched was exactly the part of the song where Madoka is naked. And not only is she naked, she has a clone of herself equally naked and they're kissing. And like it had to be on this part of the song that I paused just so everyone on class could be like, "Oh, what are you watching there, obscure?" And I'm like, what in the fuck is that?" God damn it. That was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had some computer classes, but I didn't have any necessarily any foul ups like that.
Did you have any similar experiences? Don't Not on the same vein. Doesn't need to be.
Like, it kind of made me think of like we had a music class and we were assigned to like go home, pick a song, and like forget exactly what's called in like music theory or what they were trying to teach now, but it was like how the like verses change. Like they follow a pattern and like define those patterns or whatever. So I went through my dad's like CDs and picked out an ACDC track, and I forgotten that we were going to listen to them as we went over the assignment. So when the lead singer of ACDC comes in with his shrill voice, my teacher immediately started roasting my choice. I was like I just pick at anything, man. It seemed easy. I don't know why I'm getting roasted about it.
Yeah, that was just kind of dickish of your teacher, honestly. Like
Yeah,
that was super unnecessary, man. Me, like you, like it was my fault. You can blame me. That's totally fine. You, like your teacher had no reason to be this mean, honestly.
yeah, it was a little out of pocket, but I mean, I did agree with what he was saying afterwards.
A Fisher says, "I would die of embarrassment if I were you." Oh, I did. It's my ghost talking to you all right now. But and you, oh my God, why did I write this here? No, now we gotta talk about this. Because you, what am I saying? You play Black Souls, obviously. So
Yeah.
I was thinking, for some reason, I had this thought on my mind of, what if Black Souls had Dark Souls like invasions? Listen. Imagine if you could connect on the internet to someone also playing Black Souls, right? And you could invade them. And the moment you did, like your character would be transformed, um not like in terms of stats or anything, but your character is transformed, at least in appearance, into one of the various female characters, like a random one. And then you start a battle. And if you lose that battle, like if you win, the invader is just vanquished and like whatever. But if you lose, then a random like hentai scene with that character begins to play as that other world's grin like kind of has his way with you. For some reason, this was on my mind, and I just wanted to talk about it. What do you think of that idea?
No, I think that'd actually be pretty cool. Because I thought you were initially going to go with something like something where I would fear like not only the Eunice fight, but the person who could beat Eunice at level one, like one of those freaks. It's like, oh, great, the game just got way harder. But them being able to take my character just seems like a whole other level.
Just feel like if Black Souls had invasions, like it couldn't be like something boring. It couldn't just be, oh, Dark Souls invasions, but now on RPG Maker. No, we gotta put flair. We gotta put ideas. We gotta
Yeah.
put creativity in this. I think there's an H gacha game like that. Oh yeah, actually, that's very interesting. Did you know that there was very fan service? It was for guys, but uh, it turned into a very fan servicey yaoi because of a very interesting thing that happened. So essentially, what he's talking about is a particular gacha game where the multiplayer was kind of an NTR thing. Like if your team lost, then the other team would have its way with your characters, right? And so obviously, gacha players, especially, they don't want to be cucked. So what everyone started doing is making all male teams for these multiplayer fights. So whenever someone lost, everything you would see is just one giant yaoi scene, on multiplayer. Hello, Metal Fox. Like people were afraid of being cucked so much that they rather watch yaoi during their multiplayer fights instead of their precious waifus being taken advantage by someone else.
Hey, you know what, man? I get it. I'd probably do the same thing.
Ah, I was going to say, like, I don't care enough about this kind of thing to do the same, but then I remember, like, some of the characters I like Litter or Abigail or Hoshino from Blue Archive, and I was like, no. You know what? I rather watch Yaoi than NTR of those characters. You know what? I totally agree. That makes sense.
Mhm.
uh, Pato Meriano says, OA Ghost Idol confirmed. No, I haven't become Mint Phantom yet. A Fisher says, you're cooking away. Oh, thank you. It's nice to see someone appreciates my ideas. Uh, the comment from Geronimo was just mentioning that gacha game. And so I think we can move on to the next topic. Actually, is there anything you like to talk about? Anything you like to add?
No, I think we can move on.
Okay. Let's go to something a bit more wholesome instead now. Uh, one of I noticed that the types of fights in media I seem to like the most are unwinnable fights. Like the biggest example for non-weebs, which is no one here, but the biggest example for non-weebs, I think, would be the Invincible versus Omni-Man fight. Are you familiar?
Yeah.
Okay. I really like that idea, the idea that, oh, this fight is hopeless. Like the protagonist clearly can't win, but he needs to go there and fight because he's pretty much the only one who has even an iota of a chance. Like, obviously, Mark couldn't win against his father. Like, there was almost no chance of this happening, but he had to fight because if not him, then like who the fuck else would even have a chance against Omni Man? They would all get disintegrated in seconds. So he kind of had to do that, and that's just very heroic to me, which is why I appreciate those types of fights a lot. And the biggest example I think for weebs would be in Kizu Monogatari, where Araragi has to fight. What's the name? What's the complete name? Let's see if I remember. Yeah. Kiss shot, Acerola Orion, Heart Underblade. Yes. He needs to fight her. And it's kind of the same thing, right? Because at this point, Kiss shot, I'm just going to make that shorter. Kiss shot essentially is the most powerful vampire and pretty much the most powerful being in the Monogatari universe in that story. She can regenerate from any injury pretty much instantly. She can literally erase things from existence with her mind. She like is super strong. She can almost alter reality to some extent. So it's just a completely impossible fight, especially because Araragi Koyomi, the protagonist, he is a servant of this vampire of Kishot. So he pretty much has uh, a lot of the same powers, but his are kind of restricted to the regeneration that we talked about, and even then to a lesser extent than her, since he is her servant, and to a couple of transformation abilities, like vampire transformation abilities. And like it's hopeless. Like he has zero chance of winning. He is on the back foot the entire fight and pretty much playing defensively and struggling like a motherfucker while she doesn't even seem to be breaking a sweat the entire fight. And the only reason he wins in the end is pretty much because she lets him win. Because the whole thing was it's revealed to be a glorified unalivening ritual by her. She just wanted to die, but she didn't want to die in dishonor, like just killing herself. She wanted to die in an actual proper battle, but she obviously couldn't play seriously because, yeah, if she did, she could have destroyed Araragi in the first seconds of the fight. And why I like these fights is exactly because that element of heroism of, no, this isn't possible. You're most assuredly going to lose. Like this battle is completely out of your league, but you have to do it. You're the only one who can do it because no one else stands even an iota of a chance. Well, you maybe if like you get really lucky, like Araragi did, maybe we'll be able to do something. That's why I really like those fights.
Yeah, no, it's you were talking about that trope, and I enjoy it too. It made me think of the well, it doesn't quite fit. It's the Ray fight in Metal Gear Solid 2, like towards the end, where it's like it's just unimaginable odds, but you're the only one there that has to deal with it, and you have to now.
No, I actually think that fits in quite well, especially if we consider the like Araragi example where he actually comes out victorious. Because in gameplay, it's difficult to perceive that, right? Because well, you're a video game character. You can take missiles to the face and don't die. You can take like machine gun shots and can just regenerate by eating some rations. But if you think about this in the context of lore, of what was actually happening in the story, like Snake pretty much won that by the skin of his teeth because he is an actual human, like a superhuman, but
Hmm.
still a human in the context of Metal Gear. And so, while you, the player, can just take machine gun shots to the face all day, every day, you can need to imagine that he had to dodge that, like by uh, sometimes millimeters, a bunch of times. He had to grow like painstakingly find the weak spots and then hit them with a specific weapon while under pressure. So, uh, in the context of video game, yeah, obviously not. This is far from like helpless fight, far from unwinnable fight. But in the context of lore, this definitely fits, I think.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Devin Gonzalez says, "Are you familiar with the Jigsaw movies? I'm one giant pussy when it comes to those movies, man. I can't watch a single one of them. Not even the first one, where they hadn't transitioned yet into it just being gore porn. Like I can't even watch that one. I'm this much of a pussy when it comes to like gore in actual movies. In anime, I can handle it. I can see Araragi get like destroyed, have his whole intestines taken out of his body and swung around like in the air. Yes, this is a thing that actually happens in the fight. Like I can see that, no problem. But if you do something even remotely close to that in live action, I'm just out.
Yeah, I was thinking it's like I don't know, it's like it depends on what they're depicting in the anime or the animation, where it's like like shy away from if they're showing an amputation. And
Mm.
it's like you can see like the bone and everything. And it's like makes me a little queasy.
So I take it that you're not a fan of the Jigsaw movies either.
I wasn't a fan just because they're kind of boring. Guess the gore doesn't bother me too much in those.
Mm. So I'm one giant pussy, and you're like, no, this film just sucks. That's why I dislike it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
uh, yeah, we still have a couple of minutes. Let me see if there's anything. Oh, yeah. Do you know what Riona is?
that's the beat 'em up fetish, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So,
Yeah.
to anyone in the audience who isn't traumatized yet, let me do that for you. So Riona is, from what I understand, essentially the abusive husband fetish.
Yeah.
Or essentially you're like getting excited by seeing a woman get beat up, like beautiful woman get beat up. And what's interesting about this is that I saw a lot of this, not specifically in anime or animation in general, but for some reason in the, I think, early 2010s, there was a boom of popularity of these types of games in like on YouTube. Like you there are various stories, not only of me but a lot of people, that when they were kids they went on YouTube and they straight up got recommended those types of games, like of those types of hentai games, like for some reason, like the YouTube algorithm seemed to love them like around 2011, 2013. These days they're thankfully more niche, So hopefully, no 10-year-old is going to be as traumatized as I was. But for some reason on YouTube, that was really popular within the algorithm, and it led to quite a few traumatizing stories from people, me included.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as it relates to like the content I make, I'd rather go back to that than the current boom of like NTR titles. I'd almost take any other fetish than that. I don't know why there's so many right now, but there are.
You know what? I agree. I can agree to that. Fucking, why is there so much NTR, man? I don't understand. Like, if you think in Japanese is bad, like it is bad in Japanese content, don't ask how I know this, but what was I going to say? Oh, don't ask me how I know this, but there's a lot of NTR Western hentai art. I don't know why, but that's that kink is very popular with the Japanese right now, and for some reason it's even more popular with Western artists. So yeah, I can understand your suffering.
Pressing times ahead, I'd say.
Uh, hey, Bear, bro. Oh, okay. Hey, bro. How are you, Red Fox man? Uh, there's a dude saying like Riona is a character in Seiran Kagura and nothing else. In other words, the Nile is a river in Egypt. Yeah. Uh, if you don't know, have you played Seiran Kagura?
I have not, but I do know what he's talking about, yeah.
Riona, right? Like the character.
Yeah, the character.
Yeah,
I think it's the one. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. She's based on the kink. That's why she's called that. Because she is a masochist, right? And so she wants to participate in a Riona fantasy. That's why she's called that. Uh, but yeah, I can see why you're in denial. I totally understand. Um, by the way, what are we talking about? We're talking about weird kinks. The topic transitioned to that for some reason. Also, will you play Doki Doki Literature Club? Actually, next week we're going to be doing that. On Monday, I'll be playing. What is it? Beyond Citadel, and like if I don't get banned off of YouTube for
Yo.
that game, we will be playing Doki Doki on Wednesday.
Have you played any of the Citadel games yet?
What?
Have you played either of the Citadel games yet?
Oh, I played the Citadel. I even made the video on it for the channel. But Beyond Citadel, I haven't played yet, and I'm going to be playing that on stream. Some people stream that game, so hopefully there shouldn't be any problems. But out of precaution, I put like my stream sensors on hotkey. So let me just demonstrate this for you right now. Yeah, I can toggle and untoggle this at the touch of a button. So yeah, I'm very prepared for that game.
That's good. I really like those games, so I'll try to actually catch that stream.
I'll be honest, I really like them too. I'm really excited to play Beyond Citadel, but I just really hope it doesn't murder my channel because like there's a lot more lewd stuff in that game than there was in the Citadel, and that Citadel was already quite a horny game. So yeah, I really hope nothing bad happens to my channel.
Yeah, that's true. The things you can sort of pick up, so when you go to do that, make sure you're over your hotkeys.
Yeah, I will. Hey, actually, my hotkeys are F4 and F5, and the keys for healing, I think, are F1, F2, and F3. So my fingers will be pretty close. So yeah, it should be fine. Beyond Citadel has a Gibbs off setting. You should be fine. The worst is when you let yourself die. Oh yeah, my God, what the fuck was that? Like, um, Like death scene, man. That was definitely made by a guru enthusiast. Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, yeah, it's so great though.
Again, I really like the Citadel, but because beyond Citadel, because I already played it like off stream just to see if the game was working, and I think I got to level 2 and I died. And like when you die in the Citadel, nothing much happens. Like it is gory, but there isn't a lot of gore. In Beyond Citadel, I think you see when you die, you literally fall over and your head like falls on your body, showing like your whole naked body slowly being like torn apart by the bullets. So yeah, I definitely will need that Gibbs offsetting if I want to string that. Uh, Okay, so you're playing with fire. Oh yeah, I'm definitely playing with fire. I'm living life dangerously, but I kind of will need to get used to that since I promise a few to play a few hentai games on stream. So I'm going to have a pretty fast finger on those censorship buttons. If it keeps getting damage, it keeps degrading basically. Have you watched Invincible? Yes, we were talking about it earlier in the stream in the context of unwinnable fights like exactly Mark versus Omni-Man. So yes, I have watched Invincible. I'm not caught up with the comic, but I've seen the whole animated show, what they animated up until this point. Yes. Oh, this is very interesting because you know I'm Brazilian, right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so there are a lot of people who are also Brazilians in my chat, and he's saying like, now that I think about it, Brazilian telenovelas are always full of NTR. Oh yeah, dude, definitely. Like if you don't know, in Brazilian telenovela, it's very like common to have cheating subplots. Like there's at least one or two on every like telenovela that was produced over here pretty much, if not more. There isn't I think a single telenovela without NTR. There are just ones that have less or more. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
it's weird. Yeah. It's like my mom used to watch soap operas
hmm.
and they sometimes had that same sort of subplot. I wonder if it's just like a that genre of show sort of thing.
I couldn't tell you to save a life honestly because while I am familiar with them. Like while I heard the summaries, the basics, especially from like going into like the living room and watching my mom watch it, right? This kind of stuff. Uh, at the time where they were really popular because they uh still exist right now, but they've been losing popularity, from what I understand, just because TV has been losing popularity to the internet lately. Um, but when they were popular, I was very young, like 10 to 13, right? And so I had this very childish idea that, oh no, telenovelas are for girls. I'm not going to watch that shit. I'm a man. That kind of stuff. But no, there are quite a few like telenovelas either with elements for guys or straight up for guys. Like there's literally a telenovela that I only heard of after it finished airing. That the main draw was literally that there was a female character that was extremely beautiful, and she wore this like really thin white dress, and the show would always find excuses to get her wet, and so the dress would cling to her, and you get the point. You get what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely don't have that view anymore. Though in general, I want to talk with you about something that I think a viewer yeah recommended to me. A topic that they wanted me to discuss is like the presence of essay. Can I say it like that? You get kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, like the very, very long videos about its topic where they just talk, talk, and talk. Kind of like my videos.
Okay. Essentially, they wanted me to discuss like why is essay like so taboo to show in media, like invincible, not invincible, sorry, like The Boys, for example. They regularly show people being murdered, people being put in states like worse than death, people being tortured. But the moment they have even like the most tame and the most like clearly there to benefit the story, very well written, like scenes of essay, there's always controversy, and that's true of a lot of media. Like no one had a problem in Goblin Slayer, for example, when the goblins were tearing that dude apart, right? But the minute one of them started stripping off one of the female characters, people lost their minds. And so, why is that? Like, why do you think that essay specifically is such a taboo topic in media, especially around here in the West?
An answer about what to say first is I misunderstood you. I thought you were saying essay like the writing format.
Oh,
So
sorry. Oh, sorry.
completely misunderstood you. Uh, I think we covered in or touched on a couple of my videos too, the sort of topic where it's
Hmm.
yeah, you can show the most gory, horrific sort of thing, and most people are generally fine with showing anybody that. But as soon as like I don't know, the cleavage gets too much, like your stream picture would be too much. It all of a sudden becomes a giant problem.
Hmm.
And I don't know if it's either like a morality thing with whatever culture is consuming that sort of material, but it does seem pretty hypocritical. It's like because I mean, if we want to compare side by side like the most exact things, like so like a guy getting blown up by like a landmine or something, you know, leg goes that way, blood everywhere, whatever.
Hmm.
And the equivalent to that would probably be like decently hardcore sort of material.
Hmm.
So it's like if I could show one, why necessarily can't I show the other? They should both kind of be taboo to me, or held to the same sort of taboo-ness, if I should say.
Hmm. Um, like I think the issue that because most people who have a problem with this are coming from an emotional perspective, because a lot of people who tackle this subject do it like you from a rational perspective, and from a rational perspective, yeah, there's there should be no difference. But I was watching like I think it was for yeah, there was a scene of a very drawn out scene, as I commented, of a female character essentially getting essayed in a game called Wada no Hara and the Great Blue Sea, right? And that irked me, man. That really irked me. And like I said, I'm very used to seeing ecchi scenes or scenes of people getting tortured or very gory scenes, but that really got under my skin, you know? And so there's the element of like emotionally, like obviously not in sexual content in general, but essay specifically, uh, it's one of those things where it's a better fate, quote unquote, than like dying, or one of those fates that's worse than death that's in media sometimes, for example, a person losing all their limbs, etc. But it's much more harrowing, especially to see the process of it happening, and especially when it's depicted in a more realistic, serious way, it can really get under your skin. So emotionally, on the essay side, at least I kind of get it. But I don't agree with it, because obviously we should be having rational standards. But at the very least, on an emotional level, I get it. But in relation to what you were saying of like oh, sexual content versus violent content. That's a lot. That has a lot to do with time and place. Like in Japan, for example, you have a lot of ecchi material, and that rarely gets into any controversy, right? Ecchi, hentai, lolicon, the whole stuff. But for example, you see those iceberg lists of very disturbing content. Uh,
Yeah,
Around here, something like, yeah, this is a great comparison. Around there, uh, Mortal Kombat belongs on one of those lists. Like, and it would be it's not even at the beginning of the list of disturbing topics for them. In Japan, Mortal Kombat is has disturbing, has something like rape play is for us, you know? And so it's a lot of it's a thing, a lot of it has to do where am I going with this? A lot of this has to do with the culture, like at the time and at the place. Like it varies a lot geographically and throughout time. In fact, there was not that long ago a time where anime was a lot more censored, and not in the ecchi way. Like we seen a lot of sexual content censorship in anime recently, but that content used to not be censored, but violence used to be censored a lot. I think most people who are watching this will remember the times in Tokyo Ghoul where like it would transition into the animation being kind of in negative colors, exactly to censor the violence, you know?
yeah. I think Kill Bill did that too for that same reason. It's a censorship thing.
Exactly. And when Kill Bill was airing, because that was going to be my next example, around here in Brazil and um, like in the United States, from what I heard in decades past, like it used to be the opposite. Like you could show, yeah, exactly. Mortal at the same time that Mortal Kombat was very controversial, right? In the United States, no one better than I at all the like scantily clad woman in like scantily clad, very curvy woman in that game. Everyone looked at that and was like, ah, whatever, who cares? Like that's in. I've seen better bitches in Street Fighter, right? So at that time, nobody cared, but the moment they saw a bit of violence of that level, they were shocked. So clearly, I think this is hypocritical either way. I'm not defending what Japan did at the time, not nor am I defending what America did in its past decades. It's hypocritical either way, but it's a lot more of a thing of culture, of the time and the cultural context, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Your example of Mortal Kombat, me is interesting because like back then, if we compare like the first Mortal Kombat game to the one that came out recently, it's gotten so much more detailed, like so much more graphic that I can understand the arguments they were making back then. I now more aptly because back then it was just so over the top and cartoonish. I mean, there's only so much you could do with the pixelated graphics they were doing, like,
Mhm.
but it was still all under the guise of protect the children, sort of bullshit that is conveniently being trotted out today.
Yeah, exactly. And let's say that Mortal Kombat wasn't an established franchise. Let's say that it didn't come out in, I think, the 90s. It came out today in 2025, right? Uh, no one would bat an eye at the violence, right? But the minute they saw like those like very curvy female character, especially with today's graphics in nothing but leotards, people would lose their minds on social media. There would be so many controversies, so many video essays. I'm just imagining this right now. So it definitely is a thing of like different cultural norms, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a plethora of just it's like people want to treat the fiction of something much more seriously than the reality of something. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, that's also a big problem. A lot of people these days, unfortunately, in general, like seem to treat fiction as more important than reality. So much so that there is a kind of depressing, kind of like funny thing that's happening on Twitter right now, where they found like a bunch of, remember that game that I was talking about, Limbus Company? It's a very
Mm.
non-fan servicey game. Like literally every woman there is dressed head to toe in a suit, right? In a very loose suit at that. So it's the almost parody level. It's almost like a gacha game that was made to be completely different from the genre. Has little fan servicey as possible, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a buddy of mine was like showing he's into that game and he was showing me like I think there's one portrait of a character that shows even like the tiniest bit of cleavage.
Exactly. And there's been a lot of people in the Project Moon community, in Limbus Company and Library of Ruina, and I think the other one is Lobotomy Corp, that have been outed as groomers, like full-on groomers. Like they are actually trying to solicit things from children, right? And while we've had one or other case in Blue Archive, like generally the community is free of that stuff, despite the game's reputation as whoa, canny, and stuff like that, right? And so there's
Right.
this very funny, but at the same time very depressing meme that is captioned like the average Twitter user walking past 5 child molesters to argue with a Blue Archive player. And unfortunately, we've seen that happening, like you said, more and more recently. And again, we laugh at this because the absurdity is funny, but if you go and think about it, that's very depressing.
No, it's also very true. Point of numerous examples of that sort of thing.
Hmm. It's very unfortunate, honestly. It really is. But let me read some comments and then I think we can do one more subject of discussion and then we can end. That sounds cool.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's read the comments here. I think Fallout has scenes like that, impossible to deal by force, and that you live thanks to the enemy's mercy. Um, I think he's talking about the Fallout, either TV show or maybe one of the first two games, because I don't remember that in either 3 or 4, which were the ones I played. Yes, I have shit taste, I know.
No, I like three a lot, but I mean, I've played them all. I was trying to think. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure they keep shooting the shit out of me.
Okay,
But yeah,
okay. As a younger person, I considered. Oh, Fallout 1. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Now I know
mm,
what you're talking about. Okay, okay. As a younger person, I considered SA to be worse than death because it left the victim with lifelong suffering and a ton of work could only mitigate. I consider them about the same now. Yeah, I think it would be more comparable to like I said, those fates worse than death that are still violent. Like you've ever seen like I'm not remembering right now, but you know what a colonial is?
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, being turned into a colonial. That shit gave me nightmares. So many nightmares. And I think it'd be more comparable to that, like a fate worse than death. Like you're still living, but you wish you weren't. So yeah, I consider them on the same level. But if those are okay, if you can write shit like colonials and get away with it, then yeah, essay in media shouldn't be such a taboo topic. Now a couple of comments from A Fisher. I once heard from some videos that because of I'll explain later, Evil Bookman. I once heard that from some videos that because of their focus on stripping the female character, the neuron activates or something close to that. And I was confused, like, what the fuck are you talking about? So if the boobs are shown, we turn our brain off. At least it sounded to me. Like think of the children, then be a fucking parent. Yeah, that's a good thought. To some extent, what they were talking about before, of the thing, it's been proven that, and a lot of fighting game people have been talking about this. Like they made videos about it, that they deliberately choose a female character because even if the person doesn't want to, especially if it's a man, they'll be distracted by her wearing like very little clothing. So it helps then kind of cheat a little bit, you know? And so to some extent, I understand what the people in those videos you're referencing were talking about. But yeah, this thought that, oh no, fan service is like inherently distracting and it inherently takes away from a piece of media is a thought I really hate to. Like it's super frustrating when people act like, oh, I can't, because I can't see a panty shot and like pay attention to the story. No one can. No, bitch, I can do that, and a lot of people I know can do that. Like your own experience doesn't like supersede that of anyone else. But you were saying something.
No, no, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, sorry, I was mistaken. uh Oh, okay. So to explain to you what a colonial is, there's this series of books. I think it's called Worlds After Man or something like that, or After Humanity. Again, something like that, where humanity discovers a race of godlike aliens that uh, pretty much see life as their playthings. Like they alter the genetic DNA of stuff to like their to their pleasure, to what they find like appropriate. And so they begin to transform humanity into various forms. Like they transform some humans into giant kind of ogreish versions of themselves. Then they transform some humans into kind of like the starfish hand beings, right? Some humans retain their humanoid form, but they need to become parasitic. They can't feed on anything else but the blood of the giant humanoids, etc. So it's a very like series based on exactly that thing I'm talking about, of fates worse than death, right? And colonials are a fate especially bad for the people of that book, because some people fought against these godlike aliens and they won, at least initially. But then the aliens came with reinforcements and then defeated the people, and has a punishment, has kind of a revenge. They turned then into the worst new form of humanity, the colonials, which are essentially these cubes of meat, like with an eye and a mouth, and they have no limbs, and like essentially their fate is to inhabit like the surface of this planet, and what was it? Oh, and reproduce like unicellular organisms, feeding off literal trash that is dumped by these aliens. And throughout the whole process, the aliens made sure that these people maintained their human intelligence. And so a lot of people were not only like born as these things, a lot of people turned into these things. Like 1 second you were a human, the next second you're condemned to look at the sky and like never move again because you have no arms and no legs, and to feed on trash for the rest of your sorry life while still having the consciousness of a person. That's what a colonial is, you know? So that's the shit that gave me nightmares for multiple nights. Yeah. Afisha says it was more in the context of essay, but in other cases it can also be true. Yeah, yeah, I understand. Now, what else? What else? Actually, this is more a thing I Now you know what? It's a good topic to uh like sort of close things off. So one thing that one word specifically that I hate when it comes to discussions about fan service, that word is tasteful. Because whenever they say, oh no, we don't want fan service to end, we just want it to be tasteful. What they mean is, oh no, we don't want fan service to end. We just want it to be so boring and like so subdued to the point of pointlessness. Like, why is there? Why are you even putting fan service anymore if you're going to be this subdued and like put this little of it in it? That's why I hate when people go into this argument of tasteful fan service, because 95% of the time, uh, it's just, oh no, we don't want to eliminate fan service, guys. We just want to make this the most boring type of shit possible. We're just being reasonable here. Like, it's not the whole reason, but it's one of the reasons I dislike Arknights, for example, and especially their community, because they're notorious for using those arguments. Like, oh no, Arknights isn't like other gacha games. Look, the fan service is tasteful. It's still fan service, it's still exciting, but you don't need to go all over the top. You don't need to have a butt in your face or those jiggly animations. You can do something that's still sexy, but it's not too over the top. It's reasonable. It's tasteful. And no, it's just boring as shit. And so I just hate this kind of argument with every fiber of my being.
Yeah,
And
no.
I want to see what you think, because a lot of people have this complaint. They say that, oh no, some works exaggerate too much. I wish they would contain themselves a bit. I like fan service, but not to that level, which I understand. But so I want to see other opinions on this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What?
No, I do agree. I feel the same way about the term safe horny and like what that implies.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like it's just so god awfully boring. It's like I can understand the time and place of things, and every little bit of fan service for sure should fall under that. That's like don't say it's just like having a big breasted lady in like a tight fitting turtleneck sweater, it being the same as like panty shots, you know?
Mhm.
Like they're not the same.
Yeah, you can't replace one with the other, which is what a lot of those people argue. No, one does not have the same appeal. If you want to replace it, if you want to do something more tasteful, fine. But you are going to need to find something with that same appeal. That shit doesn't work, bro. That's not how this works. You
Mm.
know. And a lot of like what you said about safe horny, right? I feel that a lot with tomboy fans, because I have nothing against tomboys. Please don't crucify me, any of you. I have nothing against tomboys, okay? But their fan base is just so fucking annoying, man. Because I'm not like, I like tomboys, but they're not my favorites. I still am. I joke about this, that my tastes are kind of stuck in 2010, right? So I still prefer bikini armor to realistic armor. I think that's sexier. I still prefer more traditionally feminine woman to like a tomboy. And whenever you have any opinion with these people, whenever you have any tastes that don't align with modestly dressed tomboy or modestly dressed dommy mommy, right? They just start calling you the worst names in existence, because how dare you, right? And it's really annoying.
No, I agree. Those circles are the same as like goth baddies or like you're saying dommy mommies. Like it's the loudest minority, or actually technically it's kind of the majority of vanilla-esque fetishes. You know, because there's no real like I don't know deep diving defining feature about any of those tastes. I would think.
Yeah, because we were talking about this before, that if you actually go and look at this, a lot of this can, obviously there are levels to it. I'm not going to act as if like being into bikinis, for example, is on the same level as being a lolicon. Obviously not. But a lot of the things that they like can be very disturbing in their own ways, especially if you start to think about it. For example, Dommy Mommies too, right? The whole mommy aspect, kind of incestuous thing, and the whole domination thing. We bring in like relationships of power, which can be really toxic in a relationship. So if you think about it, no, your safe horny isn't any less problematic than a lot of other stuff. Like, shut up, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry for doing this because there's a guy called Ivory Gatling that just came here, but we're going to have to end stream shortly. But I'll at least read his comments before I finish this off. AI,
Okay.
okay. AI decided to drop by, got back with my girlfriend. Oh, congratulations, bro. If you don't know, this guy had like he's been talking to me in a lot of streams about how he broke up with his girlfriend, then they kind of like got back together, but in a more complicated situation. Seems like their situation finally improved for good, which I find a really good thing. I'm really happy for you. Uh, no, you can say it. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm glad that that's working out for him.
Mhm. Also, when it comes to sexy designs, you don't want the design to be too ugly, but not too sexy either. Let me explain why. Okay, Arknights fan, you get a couple of lines to explain this before I ban you, rightfully so. uh, you get. I'm just joking, by the way, before anyone takes me seriously on this. Uh, you get Rule 34 artists to like your character most when they're sexy but still leave enough to the imagination. It's why Hornet from Hollow Knight Silk Song has more Rule 34 art than Eve from Stellar Blades. Yeah, but the problem with that is that a lot of people will use that as an argument to, oh, why does this stuff need to be in the game? Because a lot of the reasons why some of these more sexy characters don't get as much art as the ones you're talking about is because they are already sexy. Like, you don't need to draw art, just play the game, you know. And a lot of people use that argument to say, oh, that shit doesn't need to be in the game. Clearly, you guys can enjoy it by just making the content yourself. So why not take like those sexy character designs from the games? Let's take those away, because then everyone can enjoy it, and in your own time you can make all the smut that you want. No, bitch, I want that in the game. I want these designs to be in the game. I want to play and experience them like actually there, have the content actually there. So I kind of get what you mean, but I hard disagree. Like, I get this in a sort of like preference sort of thing. I totally respect that has your or someone else's preference, but I hard disagree. I think that there should be space too for even those more out there, those more exaggerated character designs, you know? So I get where you're coming from, but hard disagree with that Arc Knight's bullshit. Rule 34 artists are most incentivized when there are things left to the imagination. I actually kind of agree with Ivory. Okay, anyone else agrees with these two so I can add to the ban list? Of course, you can make a hypersexualized and exaggerated design work, but it takes skill and it can clash with the rest of the game when the whole game isn't lewd. But that's my point. Like, games that are completely lewd should exist, you know? It really is a case by case basis. Okay, fair. Not against sexy designs, mind you, but at the same time, what's the point in making uh like hentai art when you can already see that by playing the games. That's my point. I want it to be in the games. I want to experience that while playing. I don't want to go to some fucking site to see it. I want to play sexy games. You know, that is my point. But fan art isn't a good comparison, honestly. I wouldn't. I'm not saying there shouldn't be space for sexy designs, but still. No, all jokes aside, again, I get where you're coming from, but I can't help but disagree. Because I just think that when we start going this route, things start becoming very boring. Like, suddenly you can't make, like, bikini armor anymore because, oh, now you're showing too much. Like, now, it's boring to me, you know. No, what's at the point where it becomes boring to you, it's the point where it starts to become interesting to me, you know. So that's the thing I don't like, you know, because I totally understand the perspective of people like you and I respect it, but I just can't agree with following that design principle in general because it just leads to all the things I like kind of being thrown to the wayside, and like pretty much everything that is supposed to be fan servicey becoming boring for me. Like that game that's getting popular, that superhero game Dispatch, right? It follows a lot of those design principles. The characters are sexy, but they never go over the line. They never become like super exaggerated or sexualized. Even not even to the level of anime, but even to the level of old kind of superhero comics, right? That closest thing to that is that blonde blazer character, but even then her design is super subdued if you compare it with even something tame from like the 90s or early 2000s like Power Girl, right? And that's why I like the characters in Dispatch, but none of their designs are especially appealing to me in that way as they are to, I imagine, you guys. Exactly because they don't go far enough for me, you know? So I totally get having a space for you, but I really don't like this as a like general design principle because it excludes me and a lot of people like me. Since you mentioned Dispatch, what's your opinion on the game? I've only heard bits and pieces. That's why I said I like the characters, but I can't judge the whole game yet. So this is going to have to wait a bit. Rip Serankagura. And do you have anything to add?
Um, I was just gonna add with the whole guy who brought up the amount of or amount of fan art thing has is. I don't think we can really count all that if most of it's drawn with like off model like sort of proportions. It's like what's her face from Silk Song. It's like if it was drawn exactly like it is in the game, then I would say it's probably the more desired design.
Exactly. A lot of like because that's a good point too. A lot of the fan art that sexualizes those types of characters is like really exaggerated, like to the point where it just becomes the sort of like untasteful fan service that you're complaining so much about. Like you're essentially just taking those designs out of the game and putting them in the fan art, and at that point I am going to make the argument, why not just keep them in the game? Fuck the fan art, just put that in the game already and skip the middleman, you know. That's the argument
Hmm.
I'd make. uh let's see. Ivory. Now, what you said is an example of a game having a bigger audience, so it will obviously have more Rule 34, and since horny games have smaller audiences, they have less Rule 34. To an extent, you know? I can see what you're talking about, but for example, if you go and compare the sales, Nikkei is a lot more popular than, for example, Blue Archive. But Blue Archive has a lot more fan art than Nikkei. Exactly because of what Ivory Gatling is talking about. So he's not wrong, but I don't think that that fact should be used as a justification to adhere to that design principle, is what I'm talking about. Ivory says, I like bikini armor and heavily sexualized designs, and even make it more often when designing. Don't misunderstand me, but if you want best results, leaving things to the imagination is best. Unfortunately, in that context you're talking about, or having more or less fan art, yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you because it's not a matter of agreeing. Like, if you're using that metric, yes, what you're saying is just the objective reality. So, fair. To be honest, I know basically nothing about lewd fan service in Cape Comics besides Witchblade. That's very interesting because I have zero idea what Witchblade even is. Yes, the God of War Rule 34 phenomena, but yeah, I'll consider your argument. Okay, so yeah, I think in general this was a good discussion. I really
Yeah.
liked seeing all you guys' opinions. I don't agree with everything, but it's interesting to have those discussions with people who don't just jump into calling me like an incel pedo chud or whatever. So it's good to have these more types of balanced discussions on the topic, you know? But I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, no, I was just listening.
Okay, so we're going to be finishing the stream off right now. Thank you all for watching. Thank Enludity for participating. Unfortunately, like Inoji-kun said he was going to be able to, but we haven't heard from him. He disappeared for some reason. But like, at least he contributed to the conversation, I think, before the stream. So I'm still going to leave his name, uh not in the title, but at least I'll leave a link to his channel still in the description. But yeah, for now, thank you all for watching. Thank you and Ludity for participating, and I'll see you guys next time.